Hello, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and it's Friday evening. So, this is the time to smile a bit. I hope you've all had a good Friday, as opposed to a Good Friday, and that you are enjoying your week as best you can. We had a really interesting broadcast at lunchtime today where we talked a little bit more about how to survive what's going on at the moment. And hi, Jodi. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing is putting up a questionnaire to ask you guys if you want me to change the format. And I'll do that by way of a survey that I'm going to put up probably tomorrow. In the meantime, for those of you who might be watching for the first time, welcome. And for those of you who are regulars, welcome back. And for those of you who are new, feel free to participate or just listen up, do whatever you like. If you do make a comment, I will probably double check with you whether you are okay with me to repeat it, because you may not know that this broadcast goes on onto the replay on YouTube. So it'll be there for a long time, and not everybody realizes that. All right, some people forget that we're busy chit-chatting together, and you forget that, this will live on. Hi, Sandy, good to see you. Yeah, you're looking forward to smiling. Well, we have to thank Jodi, because this is Jodi's wonderful contribution as usual. One of Jodi's favorite jobs is to find us really nice, fun quotes to smile about. So I'm sure you'll be happy with what she found for tonight, because I was chuckling away when I was, prepping to do the rest of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to intermingle Jodi's fun things that she's found with some questions that I thought we should start asking ourselves if we haven't already. So for those of you, again, who might have a subject that you like me to cover, I always am happy to look at those. So just send them to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. And, then at least I've got an idea. If there's something that is particularly important for you and you're going, I wish that she would talk about that so I could understand it better, just let me know. I can't do it if I don't know. Before we carry on, we want to make sure everybody understands that what we are is an extended family of people, and we support one another. And just before I get into the main part of today, I wanted us to have time to just give some thoughts and prayers for the following viewers. For those of you who know Chloe, she is sitting in hospital. She has a problem with the line that they put into her heart, and they are trying not to open that line up again and go back into her heart to change it. And they're trying to control it with antibiotics, but they want to get her out of the hospital because they've got virus patients in that hospital already. And as you know, Chloe is extremely vulnerable. And so they think she'll be much safer at home. So they're at the moment busy teaching her how to give herself, serious grade antibiotics. And if she can clear that test, then she goes home and gets to monitor this at home until she's ready for whatever the next step is. I haven't heard back from Emma. She did say last night, well, actually early this morning when I spoke to her, that she was waiting for some tests to come back. And if the tests showed that her numbers were up, she would be on the mend. And I haven't heard past that yet. But obviously, as soon as I do and I get the okay to share it with you, I will do that. For those of you who know Paul the Brit, his fiancée Lena has yeah, you know what I mean. She has tested positive. That's what posted means. Tested positive, really. Posted. I made up a new word. Anyway, she has tested positive, and I'm waiting for Paul to keep me updated on that one. And talking of Paul, Boston Paul, for those of you who remember that Paul, he has, we're not sure, I don't think he's been tested, but he has been running a fever. And the last I heard was that they've managed to get it to come down a bit. So that's a good thing. And I did see there from one of his viewers that was saying, if ever you start to get your temperature going up, lots of cool showers, not cold, but cool showers you know, all the movies you've ever seen, what do they do with somebody running a temperature? I think that's the best thing to think about. If you think about it, when people are running at a high temperature, what do you hear the nurses say? Pack them in ice, in other words, cool them down. So stand in the shower and cool your body temperature down a bit. One of the things I always say to people who are suffering with the heat in the summer is just go stand in a cool shower. It's amazing what that will do to bring your body temperature down. So that would be one thing. Obviously, the same thing as if it's cold weather, wear a hat. But if you are have too much heat, put something cold and wet on your head. How many of you have seen the movies where the cowboys are always, with a wet bandana and they're always twisting it and then tying it around their neck? There's a good reason for that. They're cooling the blood flow to their brain. Sometimes if you watch the movies, it can teach you a lot. I wanted to have some thoughts and prayers also for Jodi and Lionel. Lionel's father is not doing well at all. And the last that I heard on that one is Jodi, and please update me if I'm not up to date. But he did rally a bit late last night, but he's not expected to make it through the week as far as I am aware. So I'm wait for Jodi to give me another update on that. For those of you who know our regular viewer, Jeannie and her husband, York, they just spent a lot of money putting a new pump into their well. I'm on a well here and so are they. And they had a problem and they were without water for some days. And then they had a guy come in and, bore down into the well and push whatever was blocking the well way down ahead of it. And then they dropped in a new pump. The only thing is the pump's not working properly. So they might have to go back and put another pump in. One step at a time. You can imagine how frustrating that is. The last I heard of Leah is that Leah is home, and I believe the family is around her, so that's good that everybody got home. Right, so Jodi's just updating me. She says, correct, Sal, hospice informed us he is at end of life stage. Yeah, they're noticing it in his pallor, that, the color of his skin and the way he's breathing and everything would tell them, what sort of stage he is at. It's amazing how they can almost pinpoint it with that. They're extremely good. I also heard from Kimmy in the last 24 hours, for those of you who know Kimmy. She was saying, she is in Wyoming at the moment, and she was saying that she felt the Utah earthquake. Did any of you know about the Utah earthquake? She was saying that they felt it in Wyoming. Apparently it was a 5.7 in Utah, and what did I know? But she wanted to let me know that she's fine, even though they felt it, and that Adrian is doing well at the moment. They may have to go back in to hospital with him as well, just so you know. And last on our list of viewers that we're sending special thoughts and prayers, to Lauren. She has a friend of hers who just had a breast cancer operation. And, I was saying to Lauren how lucky she is to have Jodi as a friend, because Jodi knows all about that. And apparently it had moved to her lymph as well. And, Jodi, again, knows all about that. So, this was like, we are particularly lucky to have viewers that have experience of these things and survive them, and therefore can pass on their knowledge to other viewers. Right, so having done the thoughts and prayers for today, please know as well that if you follow us, just click the subscribe button, but also there's a bell. Is that also there, Jodi? I think it is, isn't it? And if you press on the bell, that means any time that I'm going to broadcast, it will give you a heads up in your mailbox. So that's a good thing to have. And if you follow us on Facebook, know that I always put the updates during the week about our extended family on Facebook. And I always put the warnings about the upcoming broadcast. I normally give a 35-minute warning. Why I ever started started giving 35-minute warnings, I will never know, but I did. And I put those up on Facebook and Twitter. So make sure you follow Dear Mama Sal, or one word, on Facebook and on Twitter. All right, we're doing well. Here we go. We don't have any birthdays coming up that I'm aware of. So if your birthday is in the near future, please let us know so we can update our database. We know that it's Jilly's anniversary on the 25th, so that's not very far away. I'm sitting here going, when is the 25th? It's the 20th today, so you're saying it's 5 days away, Sal. Yeah, I know that, but like, when is the 25th? It must be 5 Wednesday. Okay, I feel better now. I don't know about you, but Wednesday makes more sense to me than the 25th. So Jodi, if we can make a note that I remember to wish you a happy anniversary. And I'm not sure, I'm going to have to contact Lizzie. And again, Jodi, if you can make a note for me to contact Lizzie and find out if she's still going in to have some surgery at the end of the month. I'm just reading what Jodi's writing here. For those of you who don't know, Jodi is our admin, and she looks after me like a mother and nags me like one too sometimes. Here we go. She's saying, I know why. This is about the 35-minute warning. She said, I know why. Because you're exceedingly kind and wanted to give more than the customary 30-minute warning. Whatever. That is so cute, Jodi. All right, so this one is compliments of Jodi, and if it makes you laugh, just type MA, meaning mission accomplished, right? Stress spelled backwards is desserts. Coincidence? I think not. I'll remember that. I made myself dessert. Has anybody got dessert in the fridge or had their dessert this evening? What did you have? What have I got? Let me see. Oh, yeah. I might as well take it out to get it a little bit warm. This is a layer of Jell-O, about a quarter of a cup of Jell-O, and then a layer of raspberries and wild blueberries, and then English custard. How many of you going? Oh, and by the way, a squidge of pressurized cream on top of that. Oh, I think I might be nearly out of that. Anyway, so that's my dessert for today. So here's the first of my questions. Let me ask you this. If you did not have electricity, right? Let's just presume that this whole thing, for some reason, gets more intense than we think it's going to, and suddenly you did not have electricity. How many of you could still charge your cell phone? Let me find out how many prepared people I have in my house tonight. Anybody? Because I pulled it out of the car because I keep this gizmo in my car. I have a gizmo here that is a flashlight, a signal, a radio, and has a USB. All right, here. It has a headphone and a microphone. And all you have to do is crank it. I'm just going to crank it a little bit. How many of you going, I need me one of those? Hang on a second, let me turn it on. Hang on, and now I need to. Hang on.
Presenting this week's story.
So I can still hear what the news is telling me.
What is his name?
I have a flashlight when it's. Oh, I broke a nail then. Never mind. Yeah, it's a workout. But you know, if you didn't have electricity, the main thing is I could still charge my phone. Now, I normally keep it in my car, and that's where it's going back to. And I keep it in my car. It's wedged down between my seat and the console in between. And I have it there, so if ever I broke down, you know, late at night or something somewhere, I would have all the ability to send Morse code if I wanted to, you know, over a long distance or whatever. But that's why I've always had it in the car. And I've got I'm not quite sure where it is because, you know, I've moved recently, but I've also got one for inside that is just a charger for my cell phone. All right, so just thought I'd let you know. So Sandy's saying, oh, we've got one that is a crank lamp and radio. Very important. So think about that. The reason I like it is because it is a way to charge my phone and therefore call for help if I should need it. All right, how would you cook if you did not have electricity? How many of you cook by electricity? And it'd be interesting to see how many of you just going, that's not a problem because I have a barbecue. So think about that, right? If you didn't have electricity, how would you cook? If you didn't have electricity, how would you know whether it is safe to eat the food in your fridge when you get the electricity back again? Do you all know that trick? It's a great trick to do, by the way, if you go away on vacation. What you do is you take a jar or something, whatever you like, fill it with some water and freeze it. Once it is solid, put a coin on top of it. So now you've got a solid block of ice with a coin sitting on top of it, and put that in your freezer. When you come back from your vacation, open the freezer and see if the coin is still on top. Because if the coin is at the bottom, it means while you were away, the freezer came off and it was warm enough to defrost the ice, in which case don't use what's in your freezer. Good idea, very simple to do. And I would recommend, you know, if you have a power failure or, you know, for some reason we end up without having electricity, something you want to think about. How would you do your washing without electricity? How many of you going, not a problem? That's what bathtubs are for. I think those of us who are campers have more ideas than most people. I want to tell you, all the time I was camping in my life, I had a big bucket, you know, one of those 5-gallon ones that they have ice cream in, and a toilet plunger, a big one. And, you know, I just throw the clothes in, a little bit of soap, some water, and plunge them. I want to tell you, a toilet plunger makes the greatest washing machine. Hi, Isabel. Good to see you. So that's a great way to do that. But, and, you know, it's surprising how easy it is. Yeah, no problem with the wash bucket city. All right. And washing up the same way. All right. You know, just drop everything into a bucket and you'll be amazed. Quite honestly, we would save a whole lot of water if we just dropped everything into, you know, a wash-up basin every night. Let it sit overnight to get, you know, soft, and just rinse it off in the morning. It's amazing how much, you know, you can clean just by doing that. All right, so next one of Jodi's specials here. Are you ready? Everybody thinks I'm over dramatic when I'm stressed. Now, when an octopus is stressed, it eats itself. Now, that is overdramatic. I didn't know that. If you smiled, type MA, so Jodi knows she picked a good one. Now, the next question that I have for you, MA being mission accomplished, because our goal is to help you smile. The next question I have for you, if you didn't have the internet, think about that for a moment. If you didn't have the internet, how would you keep in touch with your friends? How would you stay sane? Let's get some ideas here. Now, I'm asking this because sometimes we forget the simplest of things. And we already heard that Netflix has had to downgrade its quality of transmission in Europe because so many people are watching Netflix now that everybody's being kept inside. Netflix has had to lower the quality of their stream just so they don't break the internet. Isn't that amazing? So my question is, if by the time we've all gone that way as well, we end up breaking the internet, how would you survive without the internet? Let's hear some ideas. What would you do? Because I don't think we think about that. Think how much. Oh, Jodi said, I hadn't heard that about Netflix. Yeah, it was on the news this morning that they really had to tone back the quality of their stream. Jodi's saying board games, cards, stuff like that. Yes, you would do that at home, but how would you keep in touch with me, Jodi? I presume you would. Or you would like me to. And so, think about that. And the most obvious thing is, let's pick up the telephone. All right. Hi, Lauren. Lauren's saying letters. Think about that. We used to do that. We used to write letters and cards to people. Yeah. Sandy's saying that I rely way too much on the internet. Yeah, we all do, honey. It's not just you. Yes, try writing again. And that would be my recommendation. In fact, I have recommended for any of you that are locked down, please remember that it's a great time to write your Christmas card envelopes because you won't have to worry about it at the time. Okay, next one from Jodi, which is, I've learned to use meditation and relaxation to handle stress. I'm just kidding. I'm on my third glass of wine. Type mission accomplished if that made you smile. It made me laugh, so that's pretty good. Yeah, Lauren's saying it's a bit expensive for me to call you and Jodi. Yes, it is, Lauren. But you know something? I probably would do my best to just literally phone and say hello, just for the sake of it. Yeah, we need to write. All right, so Niash is saying, oh my, I never thought about that. The internet is my life. I'm currently watching on a mobile device, and if there wasn't any access, I'd be playing pre-downloaded games and watching movies as well. Yes, so that's a good point. A very good point. Hi, Lily. Here's the good point, which is make sure you download some movies into your devices so that if you lose the internet for any reason, you can still watch it. Because the chances are it wouldn't be gone for a long time. It would just be for maybe a day or something. But what I would like to say, Nash is saying, and I won't be able to watch DearMamaSal anymore. Well, so think about that, all right? This is what I want you to do. You see, what I want to explain to you, you won't be nearly as scared if by chance you are prepared. That's going to be my slogan for you. You are not going to be nearly as scared if by chance you are prepared. You see, if you already have a radio, a flashlight, a USB charger, and everything else, I've also got a light thing that goes into a socket. So if there's a power failure, the light automatically comes on. And I want to tell you, I have never feared having a blackout since then, because I just keep it in the center of the house. So whatever room I'm in, that light is in the center of the house. I just head for that light. I pull it out of the plug. I've now got a fully charged flashlight that I walk around the house and I light candles with. So that's also, you found an app on the Play Store to do what, Nyasha? Before I give you permission, let me ask you for what? I want to tell you it's a really good thing to have in your house. The same thing, this is a really good thing. I hope I never need to use it. Now, that is my wish. But I've had it in my car for 20 years, right? And I know that if ever I needed it in an emergency, I can hear the news. I've got a flashlight. Well, I would have if I put enough power into it. All right. And I've got a way to charge my phone. So being prepared means not being scared, right? Because you don't have to worry so much about it. Yeah. So yes, watch movies. Exactly. How many of you have still got DVDs, but nothing to watch them on? I keep my old computers because I can still watch DVDs on them. So this would be a time to make sure that if you haven't thrown your DVDs out, that you might want to get them ready just in case something like that happens. I think I've got about 3, but one that I would watch a lot. I have The King's Speech, and I still think that was one of the greatest movies ever made. And I would watch that time and time again because it had so many lessons in it for all of us. What about if you didn't have heat? If you didn't have heat, what would you do? Now, the reason I ask that question is because what if you lose electricity, but what if you lost power, gas, which is also possible. I know some of you heat your house with electricity, and some of you will use forced air heating through propane, not propane, but gas. So the thing is this. All right, Lauren says she'd go to her car and turn it on. Clever thinking, Lauren. That's smart. You'd have a radio, you'd have heat, take your comforter with you, drop back to the seats. Very good idea. Very good idea. But one of the ways that I found, I was in Maine when that ice storm hit about 15 years ago, a really, really bad ice storm hit. And I happened to be visiting Maine when it hit. And what I found out was, and I learned this from my host, was, first of all, wear lots of different layers, right? The more layers you have, the more heat gets insulated. The next thing is wear a toque, a hat, because, a lot of heat escapes through the top of your head. So make sure you wear a hat. Make sure you wear gloves. And, wrap yourself in your duvet, wearing all your layers and your hat at night. If you think about it, in the old days, people went to bed wearing a night hat. Remember those pictures you saw? There was a reason for that, a nightcap. There's a reason why it was a nightcap, right? And the reason for that was to keep the heat in the body. The other thing is, if it's during the day, sometimes it's warmer outside than it is in. It's really weird. It's quite strange. But think about the fact that, maybe exercise would warm up your body. And the other thing I would ask you to think about as I ask these questions is, what about your dog? Right? What are you going to do for your dog if, you don't have these things? All right, here's another one from Jodi. And it says, another stressful day. I'm having as much fun as a colorblind person playing Twister. Now, if you don't know what Twister is, let us know, because that's not funny if you don't know what Twister is. So, Jodi, I've played that a couple of times, and I find great difficulty playing that game. Mission accomplished from Isabel. She obviously knows what Twister is. Yeah, I always have a problem with that because for some reason, I have a definite need to pass wind when I play that game, and therefore I can't play it. I don't know if any of you relate to that, but it's very awkward for me. People go, why don't you play, Sal? No, you don't want me to play, believe you me. So, Jodi, thank you for making us chuckle. I love it. All right, so now then, what if you didn't have milk? Now, that's something. What if you didn't have milk? How would you make a plan around that one? Yeah, playing Twister would be a real hoop for you, right? It called the EMS. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'd probably get, two colors in, and then my whole body would lock up, but never mind. All right, so how many of you are prepared for there not to be any milk? I'm trying to think what I've got. Jodi did some research for us on this one. What have I got here? I've got canned cream. This is coconut cream, not just coconut milk, but coconut cream. I've got condensed milk, and I've got more of these in the cupboard. I've got powdered milk. How many of you got powdered skim milk? I have, but I want some more. I've also ordered up powdered whole milk. Now, I didn't know about powdered whole milk till Jodi told me about it. Maybe because I didn't have children, but it was just like, and I've ordered up a box of it. Right, long life milk. Now, not everybody knows about that one. That's particularly popular in hot countries. I can remember that when I lived in Africa, we always had long life milk, and I very rarely see it here in Canada. But that basically what they do is they put it through a system whereby it really lasts for so much longer. Shelf-stable almond milk. Okay, shelf-stable almond milk. Yes, don't forget almond milk. That's a really good substitute. You might not like it, but it's better than no milk. So powdered milk, you can get skim or whole. Cream, think about, if you can't get milk, maybe you can get cream. Maybe you can get half and half. Think about things like soy, cashew milk, almond, hemp milk. Now, Jodi also added in here, which I thought was a really good idea, kefir, Kerfir. I think it's kefir. Anyway, that is a yogurt-like drink that comes from the Mediterranean, I think. And you can get it either flavored or unflavored. Oat milk. Right. So as I've shown you, get coconut cream, and you can get coconut milk in tins. Rice milk, another one. Yeah. So don't panic if you can't get milk. Just go, okay, what's plan B, C, and D? And I would suggest you have a couple on hand. Much better to throw them away than not to have them. You will feel much better in yourself if you've got yourself covered on that. Now, this one is another Jodi special. It says, you mean to tell me that a stress ball, you all know what a stress ball is? It's the one that you just go like this with, right? Isn't for throwing people that stress you out. For throwing at people. I'm going, yeah, why didn't I ever think of that? All right. How about, what would you do if you didn't have any money? Now, I'm going to say it like that because a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and we don't know how long it'll take for the economy to start back on its feet again. Hi, Nana. And so what I wanted to find out, what sort of plan B have you got in case you cannot earn money? I just heard of somebody who's got a really good job. One of our viewers, she's got a really good job, and she's already been laid off. And it's just like really frightening. So what I want you to be able to do is to go, I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to be prepared for that possibility. All right. That's the mantra I want you to have. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to be prepared. So let's get creative, because we are a creative group of people. If you lost your job tomorrow, what could you do to make money? You see, it's all about seeing it as a different opportunity. How many ways can you think of to make money if you had to? Because some people will still have money. And so it's about, let's get creative. How many of you would be prepared? Yes, my first thought as well. Thanks, Lauren. Lauren's saying sell things. All right. A lot of people will be trying to get rid of stuff. Do consignment selling. Yes, get your best clothes if necessary, and take them to hopefully a consignment store will still be working. And probably that would be a good place. Maybe look at things you could take to a pawn shop if you needed it. Could you live without your television set? Probably not your computer, but, could you live without your television set if necessary? And if it could make you, $50, you probably wouldn't get more than $50 for it. Have you got a really, nice car that you could perhaps trade back in and get a clunker, just so that you could get some money out of that? Right. Jodi's saying offer services like babysitting. Maybe you could clean somebody's house for them. Maybe you could clean somebody's car. Maybe you could trim hedges for people. There are all sorts of things that if we really wanted to, we could do. One of the reasons I brought a lot of my equipment with me, I've got really good woodworking tools and I've got really good hedge trimmers and stuff like that, is you never know when I'm going to either need it or I'm going to need to use it to save myself some money. So think about that. Repurpose things. How many of you are creative? I'm thinking people like Nana and Lauren and so forth, that you could, be bringing tables and things, and, Rick could be sanding them off, and then you could be, either painting them or else, revarnishing them and making them look beautiful. You see, I think that we all need to look at what our talents are and find out things that we can do. How many of you knit? So people will still want to have, good things. And I know that you're saying, well, it's cheaper to go to Walmart and buy something these days than it is to make it yourself. But, part of me goes, and it looks like it came from Walmart and it has no love in it. So, you can knit as well. Okay, so Nana can knit. I've just finished, hang on. I've just finished my first of 3 baby blankets because this is not that you couldn't get a nicer one somewhere else. To me, this says I took the time. Oh, Nana's saying she could cut people's hair. Good point. Very good point, Nana. You have that skill. Yes, I could as well. That's a good one. I wouldn't have thought to add that. Very good. You know something? It was just one big ball of wool out of Walmart, and it's like a Chanel. I think that's what you call it. It's soft. You would know. Me, it's just wool. So you understand that people will still be having babies and they will still need things. So I think it's really important. Pressure wash. Yes, right. Good one. If you've got a pressure washer, there are people, right. And Nana did her own yard. I've got a pressure washer and I do my own as well. Yeah, Nana, great idea. All right. Anything else? How many of you would be prepared to wash a car for somebody for a couple of bucks? You know, if you needed it to buy food, would you be prepared to do that? You see, all the opportunities are there. It is hard work. And also, Nana, did you find that when you'd finished, you were still sort of going like this? Yeah, I can, watch my chins go. When you've finished, like your arms are still doing this for a while. Oh, alterations. Yes, you definitely. If you're good with a needle and thread. So think about these things. Don't panic. If you are prepared, you don't need to be scared. All right. So I want you to think about the only thing that's really important is that you survive. This is like a war. Oh, and Nana's saying she can sew really well. All right. So I'm sure quite a few can do that. So, to me, it's think about what you can do, not what you can't. Jodi, you are an incredible baker. And, I'm pretty certain that you could send Lionel out with a couple of really nice pies that you could probably sell and make enough money to, you know, feed yourself and get some more ingredients. Those are the things you need to, or barter it. That's the other thing that a lot of people did during the war. They bartered things. Do you know what that is? Does everybody know what that is? All right. In other words, that I will exchange you your christening gown that Nana just made, but in exchange, I don't have money, but I do have, chickens, and I can give you a dozen eggs a week for the next 2 months, right? So those are all important things. All right, here's our next smile. The time to relax is when you don't have time for it. How many of you agree with that one? It's like the same thing, the bank doesn't lend you money unless you don't need it, right? Better for barter. Yes, Nana's saying that she's got a serger and a sewing machine, both computerized. That's awesome. So think about that. Those are things that maybe you can rent them out to people. All right, that's another thing. Think about what you've got in your house. Like, for example, one of the things that I might not want to snow blow everybody's driveway, but I would like people to know that I've got a snowblower if any of them would like to rent it. Or, you can borrow my snowblower if you also do my driveway. That's twofer. So, you will get much more creative. So those sort of skills will always be important, I think, for those of you who are handy and creative. What would you do if you didn't have water? That's my next question. What if for some reason the water system went down. Now I'm on an artesian well here. So I'm not on municipal water. So my first thought is, if something happened to the well, I think I'd be, going down to somebody who's on municipal water and trying to get theirs, with permission, of course. So do you have, this is my question, do you have a couple of big containers that you could collect water in, if needed? Do you know where your local spring is? Most areas have got a local spring that you can go and fill up with, very fresh water, just like the well water. If you want to, you need to get to it and fill up your containers. But that's the other, that's one of the things you could do. How many of you have got water storage? In other words, you've got some water in containers at home. How long does that last for? How long is it drinkable for? Because one of the things that I think people think is that you can have it there forever. Yes, good point. Yeah, Nana's saying we live in a rainforest, she and I, so water for us isn't a major thing. How many of you have got a rain barrel collecting water? I do. So if ever there was a major problem, my only problem would be to sanitize the water that I've got. But I would have a barrel full of water soon. All right, I'm just waiting for it to not be frosting anymore, and then I will close the second valve on it so that it can start filling up. So yes, but the thing I want people to understand is water doesn't last forever, I believe. So we might want to check into that one. How long can you keep water in a plastic container? And do you all have at least a couple of gallons of water somewhere, so that if something happened? The other thing is, if it's past its fresh state, you can still use it for many, many things, including the toilet. And that's the other thing. How many of you would understand how to do that? I always remember, this gets a bit gross for some people, but it's a reality that we could all hit on. So let's talk about it. I remember visiting somebody whose septic system was on a septic field. Actually, I'm on a septic field as well here. And one of the things that it had next to the toilet was, if it's yellow, let it mellow. And if it's brown, you can flush it down. I thought that was brilliant. How much water would you save if you didn't flush all the time? Okay, there, I knew Jodi would come back with an answer. She's so good with this stuff, right? So 2 years for non-carbonated water and 1 year for carbonated. So if you've got Perrier water or stuff like that, that will last for a full year. Good idea. I wouldn't have thought of the carbonated water. That's a very good idea. All right, so, by the way, even powdered milk has a shelf life, right? But let me tell you something else that I want to tell you about. My daddy died 20 years ago, probably. And I want to tell you, in his basement, there were boxes of condensed milk from the war. How about that? I think he was still using them, quite honestly. Yes. Nana's saying they have toilets now with different amounts of water that goes through for flushes. Yeah, that's been around for some time, but yes, a good point, right? So this is the whole thing, though. I thought that, I know, living in Africa, where we had water rationing, you didn't just flush the toilet. You only flushed it when you needed to. And so that's a really important thing. But the other thing is, you did what I call multifunctional water. You'd start off, by having a whole bathtub of, they would warn you that you were going to have water rationing. And what you'd do is you'd immediately fill up the bathtub. And if you had 2 bathtubs in the house, you'd fill up 2. And one was one that people could wash in if you wanted to have a bath. it was cold water, but it was Africa, so it wasn't that cold. But after you used it to wash in, it became water for flowers outside in the garden. It became water to flush the toilets. It's like, think outside the box here. And, you'd have fresh water to clean your teeth, to cook your vegetables in, and to clean your pots and pans. So you'd boil vegetables, but you'd use that water to clean your pots and pans afterwards. And then after you'd finished with that water would then go, take a container and water the flowers. It's amazing what you can do when you have to. And that's what I want us all to be aware of. We can do this together. Okay, here's my next question. I know that you're all really nice people and kind, generous people, because I've known you for a while. What will you do for the homeless? What have you done for the homeless? And what could we do for the homeless? Let's get some ideas. What comes to your mind when you think about homeless? As I said at lunchtime today, one of the first things I did was to think about, who do I know in my immediate circle of friends who is likely to lose a job? And how can I make sure that they know I will help them if that happens? That to me was one of the most important things for me to let my friends know. Those people who, actually, that was after I checked with the bank whether my money is safe. By the way, I also intend, I don't mind telling you that, to pull out probably 3 to 6 months worth of living money out of the bank. Okay, so Jodi's saying for the homeless, let's think about maybe making up some hand sanitizer, maybe some food. What sort of food would you give to a homeless person? What's the easiest for them? Because, most of the restaurants will be closed. So that would be a good idea. Why would I take money out of the bank? Is that what you're asking, Nana? No, money isn't dirty. Money is fine. The thing is this, if you go back in history, when people start to panic over toilet paper like this, what if they start to panic over money? And what will happen is there'll be a run on the banks. And then you won't be able to get your money out. So my recommendation is, before that happens, get yourself enough money so that you can last for 6 months or so. For those of us who are on pensions and stuff, I think we would still get money. But again, it's like, if you got money invested or whatever, I would make sure you got some cash on hand if you can. All right, so Jodi's saying for the homeless people, some non-perishables, crackers, tuna in a pouch, dried fruit, nuts, nutritionally dense food. Yes, it's probably not what they want to see. They'd rather see a Big Mac and fries, but that sort of stuff, high protein stuff will be better for them. But remember, they don't necessarily have a can opener or, those sort of things. So think past the box on that one. Actually, that would be a good question to ask a homeless person. So if you happen to see one, ask them. I was saying at lunchtime, and the more I think about it, the more clever the idea is, and I have to be really thankful that my mind comes up with these things. I was saying at lunchtime, this social distancing. If you want to make sure that you have social distancing from people, go shopping with an umbrella. Because an umbrella is about, if you think about it, if it's a golf umbrella, you can just keep people away with your umbrella. Now, they'll think you're insane, and I don't mind it. I don't know about you. Or have a cane. If you've got a cane, take a cane with you and just keep people away. Don't let them get too close. I went for a walk today and I made a comment to a new neighbor that I hadn't met before. And she started to walk towards me and I stopped her about 6 feet and said, social distancing. And she stopped immediately. Yes, Nana, you can take your crutch. Good idea. And, just lift it and just keep people away from you. I said, I really did say that I think that we should only be allowed to go down each aisle one way. I don't think we should be allowed to cross each other like that because we get too close to people. I'm going to, have a thing where I'm going to put that up and see if we can't talk about that till somebody picks up on it. Isabel is saying, here the stores don't want to take money. They just want cards. Why? Isabel, have you thought outside the box as to why that might be so? Number of reasons. Number one, they can be fearful of robberies. All right. Number two, they can be fearful that in this day and age, with things like this going on, how many scammers are going to be out there making fake money? Yep. So it's not that the money is dirty in terms of being touched. That's also true. But the thing is that there are so many different parts. By the way, I really, really would ask you all to be on the lookout for scams. Anybody that phones you and says, this is the Royal Bank or the Bank of Key Bank or whatever, and asks for any information over the phone, just big red flag. All right. A bank will not phone you and ask for your information. They already have it. Okay. They might ask you to verify something. And my trick always is, I am sorry, I need to phone you back. Can you give me your number so that I can phone you back? And then I will run that number through the internet to find out what that number is for. And if it doesn't link up to a bank that I know, I won't phone them back. What I will do is I will phone my bank and say, I've just got a call. I don't know if it's for real. What number should I be calling in case it's fraud? And they will tell me. All right. So please be on the lookout for people trying to scam you for your information. Because when people are scared, they do silly things. Here's the next one from Jodi. So remember, type MA, mission accomplished, if it makes you smile. The human body is 90% water. So basically, we are just cucumbers with anxiety. That's so cute, Jodi. You knew I'd like that one. So let's think again. Now then, this came up. Oh, right now. So hang on, Sandy's saying, just hold on. Sandy's saying, please, Jodi's saying, please, folks, be careful. Scammers are waiting to take advantage of us. Yes, Sandy is saying there's a scam right now of people saying that they're with public health, telling people they've tested positive for the virus. I mean, really, where is that something people should be doing? All right, so this one is going to be a big one, Nana. Thank you for mentioning that. Facebook has someone trying to collect for people with the virus. Yes. Now, I've got a personal thing that I have a lot of people, you can probably imagine this. I have a lot of people contact me and ask me to donate to various things. I can tell you what I did donate to. I did donate some money towards helping the koala bears when the fires hit Australia. That to me, okay, fine. And by the way, I did check the charity. I did check to make sure that that was a charity. But, I want to tell you, for the number of people that contact me, crowdsourcing or whatever, there are very few that I actually will donate. I also tell people I do not donate over the telephone. And I do not donate normally over the internet unless I know. The easiest answer I've had is I have two charities that I support. You are not one of them. Yeah, end of story. So, and by the way, one of the charities is myself. But they don't have to know that. All right, Lily Tomlin said, thanks to Jodi, reality is the leading cause of stress amongst those of us who are in touch with it. Reality is the leading cause of stress among those in touch with it. How many of you have found out that, living in reality can be pretty stressful? It was sometimes easier to live in Disneyland, right? But as I said, the reason I want you to be aware is because if you're prepared, you're not so scared. And that is the important part that I want to get the message over. All right, so now then, what would you do without your television set? Now, let's presume you still have electricity, but you don't have your television provider anymore because whatever. What would you do without television? How many of you are going, not a problem? Anybody? That's great. Jodi's saying it's mission accomplished for her, saying that you guys are enjoying the quotes that she found for us. Yeah, I want to tell you, Jodi, you do such a good job. You know exactly which ones I'm going to enjoy. So Lauren's saying, that not a problem because she just watched Netflix or Prime or whatever it is, right? So I don't think that television is much a problem as my question earlier, which was what would you do without the internet? That is a much bigger problem, especially for those of us who are trying to socially isolate, because we wouldn't be able to order our groceries online or our shopping online, other stuff, right? So that's amazing. Jodi, this one made me laugh out loud because it's so true. It's astounding how one's stress level goes down with the simple act of switching from skinny jeans into yoga pants. How many of you agree? It's like, exhale. I don't have to breathe in anymore. I loved it. It was great. So, who do you know? That's my next question. Actually, I've got to just take a break for a second. Jodi, can you just hold the fort? This is the question. All right. If you can just keep people talking on this one. The question is, what would you do if your friends lost their jobs? I want us to think about that. We are going to have friends that lose their jobs. So if you can just moderate that for me, I'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Hi, Sharon. Good to see you. Sorry about that. So, Isabel's saying she'd be making more food to share. Yes, the trick, if you think about it, is instead of having a straight steak, maybe we make a stew out of a steak rather than just having a steak, if we're lucky enough to have that. Think about, instead of having one thing, think of something, I'm thinking instead of having shepherd's pie, how many meatballs would that same mixture make over pasta or something? So I would think that would be really important. Yes, Jodi's thinking about, what food could she bake for them? Yes. And you might want to just ask Lionel when he goes out shopping, how many homeless people does he see? And maybe, pack up a few cookies or something that he can hand out, or some fresh bites that would be healthy for them. Yes, good idea. Sandy's saying one thing you could do if your friends lose jobs. Excuse me, I've got a little bit of a stomach bug going on. Anyway, one of the things that Sandy's saying is keep out an eye out for leads on jobs for them. I'm also thinking about which friends could lose their jobs. All right. Now, I've heard already that somebody who works at a lawyer's office has already lost their job. Now, you wouldn't think that would be closing down, but you think about it, lawyers are going to have a real problem. But they can consult over the phone by the internet, but they're not going to need the big staff that they used to have necessarily. So that is not necessarily a safe job, as somebody was saying. The other thing is how many of us would be able, to cope. I don't know. Yes, Jodi's saying that she'd work hard at keeping them positive. So Sharon, you thought you thought that they'd finally run me off, right? I love that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wasn't feeling too hot for a moment. I'm cheap entertainment, says Sharon. All right, so Nana's saying that down to Washington. That's a story you told us last week. They went down again, or is this still the same thing? And it annoyed you, yes. But did it annoy you that they went to Walmart because they're just as likely to pick up the virus there? So, it's not about Washington. It is about, we have no idea where that virus is. That's the point that I was trying to make. Yeah. So he had no good reason to go. No, the same thing, Nana, as all those young people on the beach in Florida, right? They obviously don't understand how serious this is. But, getting angry is not going to help. All right? It's just going to make you sick. So try not to, this is a good lesson in letting go of control. I agree with you. My sister was saying the same thing, that my sister was telling me that she's got a neighbor who keeps sending her husband out every day to go shopping for fresh food. And she's going, it's insane. You should not be going out to shop more than once a week, and preferably not even once a week. So, this is about, but in a way, Nana, have you told him how angry that makes you? Because if you're thinking that and just waving at him, that's being two-faced, right? So, and I don't think you're like that. So the thing is that, if you're angry because he's doing that, then just tell him. And, he doesn't have to agree with you, but just let him know that it scares you. The same as I stopped a neighbor from coming too close to me today. All right, this is like, hey, social distance, please. I am 72 and vulnerable. I have a history of bronchitis. So, you know, this is not that I don't want to be friendly. This is I'm trying to save my life. The beaches in Alabama are closed, but campgrounds. Are you saying campgrounds are not closed? But Florida, the beaches are open, but the campgrounds are closed. Yeah, I mean, they've got to get some sort of consistency going here. I quite honestly think they've got to shut everything down. But that's just my feeling, and I don't control it. So, no, exactly. Nana's saying she's not two-faced in any way. So you've told him how much that annoys you. You haven't kept that to yourself, all right? So the Alabama campgrounds are open. How stupid is that, right? I got really across today that the U.S. president told the reporter who asked, "What do we say to the people? What would you say to the people who are scared?" That he called him a useless reporter. How could he, sensationalize it? And I'm going, there's nothing sensationalizing about asking that question. That is a truthful, factual thing. There are people genuinely scared. I didn't think Trump was rude. I didn't think the reporter was. It was just like, that was a valid question. What, as our leader, what do you have to say? Pence came up with a decent reply, but it was just like, really? Really, really horrible. All right, now then, this is another thing, and it came up this week for Jodi, and it came up for me as well. What would you do if you needed to go to a wedding in the near future? What if you got invited to a wedding? Would you go? Think about that. What about a funeral? Would you go? Uh, I got invited to a baby shower. And I wrote and said, thank you so much. And by the way, a baby shower in Washington. And I said, thank you so much for the invitation. I am 72 and high risk. I cannot do this. Exactly. This is like everybody needs to delay these things until we can all get back together again. So what I did is, send me the registry. I will, do what I can that way. And, what about a christening? Because that's pretty important, or a first birthday party for those people who are Asian. That's really very important to them, that first birthday. These are all things that we're going to come up with and that we need to think about at some level. What are we going to do? If you are prepared, you won't be scared. So when you receive this invitation, you are not going to get worried about how do I reply to this. You just need to tell the truth, which is at the moment I am choosing, not to do anything but self quarantine until this is over. And I guess the other question that I would have for all of you, sorry, I'm just trying to get my Facebook working here. For some reason, it's having a moment. The other question I would have is how often do you go shopping? How many times have you been shopping? All right, let me see what comments we've got here. Right, Rick is 71 and has a breathing problem. Yes, I think for whatever reason, anybody who's over 60, don't go. In fact, don't go generally. Sharon's saying, my nephew's wedding is November the 1st. Hopefully things will be back to normal by then. Yes, let's hope so. Jodi's saying that we have decided to delay my father-in-law's impending memorial service. Yes, you know that he's probably going to be passing pretty soon. So, tell the family, let's do this a year from now, or let's revisit this 6 months from now and see if it's safe to have a memorial. Very important. And talk about it like it is okay. With all due respect, and you know how much I care, Jodi, with all due respect, it's not going to make any difference to Lionel's daddy. All right. It can only be something that puts the family at risk, and they don't want to do that to you or anybody else. All right. So Jodi's saying she only goes shopping once a week and Lionel goes alone. Right. So okay, Nana. Nana has to go and eat. So think about that and don't feel badly that you need to say no. All right? If they send you these invitations with all good, I feel sorry for anybody who's go or whatever. Let us just say no and stay safe. All right, so Jodi's next smile is this one. Some people manage stress with yoga, meditation, and long walks. I manage stress with food, sarcasm, and swearing. Mission accomplished, Jodi. I really like that. I really, really like that. I thought that was so good. All right, so let's see here. Hang on a second. Sharon saying, unfortunately, hang on a second. So, unfortunately, his fiance is supposed to graduate in August. If they cancel their clinicals, she won't graduate. She is super upset. Of course, she's super upset. Yes, I think it's so sad on any young people at school or college or whatever. But it is what it is. It's like getting upset isn't going to make this better. Isabel says, for me, it's funny. I have to sing when I'm stressed or scared. Yeah. How many of you hum when you're stressed? All right. We all have funny things that we do when we're stressed. All right. So how about, what if you couldn't find meat this week? How many of you would be quite okay with that? What would you do instead? And I'd go shop in my freezer, but wow, Sharon's saying that she has completed her nursing degree in half the time. She's a brain. Wow, isn't that amazing? I think the main thing is nobody planned this, all right? So getting upset about it is not fair because nobody planned this. Now, this just happened. This is life. And so, yeah, it sucks, the big one, no doubt about it. But getting angry about it will not fix it. It's just like, so you're going to have to wait another 6 months. You are going to graduate. It's just going to take a bit longer. And by the way, there aren't, the other thing is this, I think it's very important that people understand that if you're that close to graduating as a nurse or a doctor, they're going to need you. Right. So Sandy's saying we stocked up on other kinds of proteins. Do you want to give us some clues of what you've stocked up on? Sharon's saying I'd be okay without meat. Yes, I've got canned spam in the house. I've got canned baked beans on toast type stuff in the house. What other proteins have I got? Come on, throw some more proteins at me. How many of you have got fish, maybe tinned fish? Okay, eggs are good protein. Yes, then normally you can get eggs. Tuna, that's the other one I was thinking of. Yeah, spam definitely is a good one to have. So just make sure you got a couple of them. The other thing is, as I think I told you last week, I've bought about 6 of those tins of hearty soups, where they've got beef, sirloin beef and vegetables, or chicken and something else. So I got about 6 cans of those, and quite honestly, I could make one of those cans last me for 3 meals by adding more vegetables to them. All right, so Sandy's saying beans, tofu, and quinoa. Now I also bought extra quinoa. I think this is what I got. Yeah, so I got an extra packet. I've also got some left over, but I got some of that as well. Yes, Isabel's saying if that happened, I'd say bye-bye to keto and eat beans. Chickpeas I've got. I can prove it. Okay, so I got chickpeas, quinoa. Yeah, so we're pretty well. Baked beans. Yeah, so we're pretty good. And it's great to throw a couple of those chickpeas in with a stew or something. All right, so Sharon's saying I also stocked up on cooking supplies: flour, cornmeal, sugar, potatoes. All right, so think about that. I was showing at lunchtime how many of my fruits and vegetables I am not throwing away. I am creating new fruits and vegetables from anything that comes into my house now. A quinoa tuna casserole. That sounds very healthy. It's difficult to describe what quinoa tastes like. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I thought it would taste very different somehow. But it's low on the glycemic index. Am I correct on that, Jodi? Does it tell me? By the way, it's organic. Benji would be pleased. 100% whole grain. Superfood from the Andes. Yeah, it's lower on the glycemic index. Good. So I've got to learn no. Oh, Isabel says no. Interesting. Okay, you guys sort it out amongst yourselves. Jodi's next smile was this: be strong. That's what I whispered to my coffee. Nice one, Jodi. Jodi's going, it's not? All right, Isabel, cough it up. We better have some facts here, because you're going to really mess with our minds if you tell us that quinoa is not low on the glycemic index. But good to know. So how many of you, if you couldn't buy new clothes for a year, how many of you would be okay with that? But could you have new clothes if you couldn't buy them for a year? Could you swap them with somebody else? Like, okay, well, I've had enough of these. Give me some. I always say to Marnie is a size up from me. And I've said to her, please do not throw your clothes away when you get tired of them. Just pass them down to me. And she keeps forgetting. Because my attitude is, just because you're tired of them doesn't mean that I am. And how many of you relate to this one? Jodi's next one is, I stress out about stress before there's even stress to stress out about. Yeah, I've got a few viewers that are like that. All right, so we've answered the question. Well done, Jodi. Jodi's going, whew. Okay, so quinoa is 53 on the glycemic index, and white rice is 73. Okay, so it definitely is lower than rice. And rice is lower than flour, I think, isn't it? Okay, Jodi, you can breathe again. We love you. How many of you know that the coming months are going to tell you about yourself in terms of how well you can cope with stuff? And how many of you are a little bit scared about that? All right, so Isabel, who's a keto fan, goes, read the number of carbs on the back. A carb is a carb. Even if you would have had the most incredible brown rice, etc., when you eat it, it will be treated as sugar. Yeah. So it's not low carb, it's just that you're saying a carb is a carb, and it's not good for you. All right, that keto is no carb. And I'm going, I lost 10 pounds and I still have carbs. Not as much, but I still do. So how many of you agree with this one? Jodi also said, she found this one, and this is a definite mission accomplished for me, Jodi, because I burst out laughing when I read this one. It said, I want to run away, but I can't afford it. Now, I'm hearing that, when you look at all the industries that are going to be badly affected, how many of you have heard about the cruise ships getting really smart? Yeah, Sandy likes that one too. Jodi's saying, I can't afford to leave my driveway. That's right. All right, so I just want to have a little chat about the cruise ships. I was hearing today that the cruise ships, whose industry is now finished for the foreseeable time, are getting smart. And what they realize is they can turn cruise ships into hospitals. And so I believe Princess Line has already offered their cruise ships to go to various docks and be hospitals for people. Don't you think that's incredible? That's taking a negative and turning it into a positive. Obviously, their ships are not going to be sailing, but they could make it useful. And I think that is what I'm trying to get you all to understand is life as we know it is changing dramatically, but it doesn't mean that we can't have fun. It doesn't mean that I can't say hello to a neighbor. It just means I have to be more careful about it. It doesn't mean that I can't meet new people. I can. I just can't get too close to them. It doesn't mean that, everything is going to go down the drain, presuming that I don't get it. Even if I get it, it doesn't mean that I will die. I'm more likely to. And by the way, if I am more likely to get pneumonia because of my past history, and I am more likely not to get on a respirator if there's a choice between myself and a young person. But, if I spend my life thinking about that, what is my life going to be like? Yeah, Jodi's saying it's a great resource. Use those ships. They are floating cities. Yep, they definitely are. And, the thing is that I think that that's what they will do. All right. I believe there was some talk about the naval, what do you call it, hospital ship being sent to New York. But Newsom from California said, please don't let it leave California. Please do not let that ship leave California. That's where it is at the moment. It must be in San Diego, I think. But they're saying, please don't let it leave California. We're going to need it. We're going to need it big time. And so, it is really interesting to see how, but what are we going to do for the middle section? If we've got those hospital ships, but even so, what do they hold? About 2,000 people each, maybe? Seconded, I think is the word, right? Where the governments will say, those now belong to us, and we need to use them. It's like when the police need to chase a baddie, they can second a car and say, excuse me, get out, I need your car to chase a baddie. Jodi's saying in New Hampshire, their schools are being closed for the rest of the year. Interesting. So expect it. You see, if you're prepared, you won't be scared. It's just like I have now completed my first week of being self-quarantined. I have not been lonely. I have not been scared. I've been angry because I watch, you know who, and he makes me very angry, or I allow him to trigger me. But I've quite honestly, the interesting thing for me was I tried to order food online and it was very difficult. And the earliest that I could get food delivered was March the 30th. Can you believe that? And I'm in Canada. So make sure that you are ordering ahead, even though I am now going to order for the following week as well, just the basics, so that I've got that lined up. And so the last one that we've got here, and Jodi, I'm glad you put it at the end because I think it's delightful. Jodi put this one up and she said, my doctor asked me if I'd ever had a stress test. Yes, I replied, it's called life. And isn't that the truth? At the moment, we are going to get the greatest stress test that we've ever had. We are going to literally find out how well we cope. And I think it's really important that we cope by helping one another as best we can. And by minimizing the amount of time we spend watching the news. As I have said at lunchtime, I have limited the amount of time. I normally watch the news all day long. I have it on all the time. For the first time in my life, the second time in my life, I have turned the news off because I don't want to be bombarded with this 24/7. So what I've done is I allow myself to listen to the news or watch it while I'm putting on my makeup and stuff. I can watch it, when I get up in the morning. And then when I go to bed, I can update myself just before I go to bed, just so that I'm aware of what's happening. And the reason I like to do that is because, as you know, I've got viewers from around the world. And sometimes the news that I get at midnight or something, they're just getting it as they wake up. So, and they quite often write to me and will ask me things. So I try and make sure that I do that. The other thing is I want to thank all of you for the great job you do in making people feel comfortable about reaching out. And I really want to thank you for that, because I was amazed how many people have reached out to us in the last little while because they're scared, because they need extra support, because they're not feeling in quite the right space. And the reason that they do that is they know we would be here and they know we care. And I didn't do that on my own. All right, we did that as a group, and I really do want to thank you all for it. So we've covered a lot of ground this evening, and Jodi, thank you for all the smiles that you've put in it. With your permission, I am going to close this early because I really am not feeling too great. And I would appreciate it if you could be mindful of that. I don't want to have to keep running. I think I did pretty well considering. I didn't think I was going to do that well. So I'm sure I'll feel better. I don't know what I had. Honestly, didn't agree with me. And thank goodness that's all that it is. So I'm going to be putting out a survey to try and find out how I can best support you at this time. And is what we are doing enough? That's what I'm trying to find out, whether doing the 3 broadcasts a week is better for you than, or do I try and put up a vlog every day that'll, just on a thought for the day or something. It's really important to me to know what works best for you guys. And there's part of me that goes, maybe we will need a thought for the day. I don't know. Part of me goes, that probably isn't a bad idea. And what I can do is just keep notes on them and maybe just record a whole lot of them in one day. So thank you all for being here and for helping one another. I am quite certain that our job is going to get more difficult in the coming weeks. I am certain we're going to have some pretty horrific stories to tell. And I would like you all to see this, if you will, as just a monumental test of our ability to keep control of ourselves and our thinking, and to continue with our compassion and to help those around us as best we can. We all have way too much of everything. And I think it's really important that we see it for what it is. I am pretty sure that all of you know that the world just got a little too greedy about so many things. And in my mind, you know, that we are now going to just rethink everything. How many of you are dead scared that there won't be toilet paper in your life anymore? You know, those sort of things. And it's really horrific how people are just panic buying everything. I'm trying to think, you know, I mean, I've got my answer to the problem, but I'm thinking, would I make toilet paper? You know, being me, you know, how would you make that? You know, because it must be possible. But, you know, I just keep going. It's history. What did they do in the war? And, you know, it's like we've done this before, people. This is not new stuff. You know, some of us know about this. It's some of us time, that's quite right, Jodi. It's time for us to relearn the basics and the value of the things that we have and the people that we have, Jodi. All right. I think that's another thing that we are reevaluating. You know, make sure that you tell the people that have been in your life and in any way contributed to your life, make sure you let them know how grateful you are in case they are not there next week. You know, that's what you've got to think about. Now, I must say that I am pretty impressed with what Canada has done to protect the population. You know, considering we are the second largest country in the world, it is pretty amazing how and we have a very high influx of people coming out of Asia and always have had. You know, it's amazing to me how well they have contained it here in Canada. And I am just hoping that they will continue to. However, I am making sure that I am prepared, not scared, right? I am making sure that I am aware that I've got a sore throat, that I went to bed last night and I started to cough, that I've got a sore throat, that I think I've got some sort of a stomach bug. I am aware of all these things. All right, not panicking, just aware. And I will keep taking my temperature. And I assure you, if my temperature starts to climb, I will be, you know, very aware. So to me, this is like the best we can do for each other is to make sure we're prepared, not scared. So how many of you are going, I want to get me one of these things or a version of it, right? Or that I really do need to stock up on some extra dry milk just in case, or tin milk or whatever. It doesn't taste the same. Of course it doesn't. But, you know, something is better than none. That's how I want you to think. Because now the biggest problem I see happening is, funny enough, the biggest problem I see is for the teenagers and the millenniums, because the millenniums have never had to, they are very much into, that's what I want and I want it now, self-gratification. All right, they've grown up with all the bells and whistles and they expect to have them. I think they are going to find this harder than any of us. And I think as well, if you've got millenniums in your life, or if you've got anybody that is perhaps younger than 50 in your life, all right, we need to teach them why life is not going to depend on whether they have the internet or not, or whether, what the value system now is, will you survive this? Right? It's not about whether I will have the internet, it's will I survive this? That's the important question. And so keep doing the best you can, everybody. And above all, keep your sense of humor if you can. And also, keep hope. All right? That even if you get it, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die from it. It's a bit like cancer, right? Um, Jodi, I'm pretty certain when you got cancer, you thought your life was over. And then when you survived that and you got lymphedema instead, you went, okay, well, that's definitely it. Right? And the truth is you're still here, helping people better than we can imagine. And so I think there is great hope when we choose to see it and when we choose to do the right things. And that is what I hope we all do. Okay, everybody, I'm out of here. I'm losing my voice. So this is Dear Mama Sal saying, please continue to look after one another. Please. Look after one another, but most of all, please make sure you stay honest with yourself. If you do start to get scared, have a buddy here. We've got lots of good people in the Dear Mama Sal network. Reach out to somebody, let them know you're scared. Reach out to me anytime you like. I assure you, I am answering emails and Facebook messages, just about round the clock. And this is, if I can help in any way, I will. You know that. So take it easy. Keep smiling. Yeah, reach out. Jodi says she's there too, right? And Jodi, we wish you and the family all the best for what is obviously going to be the inevitable. And there's nothing that we're going to be able to say that makes that any better. Unfortunately, it's part of the circle of life. And what can I say? Except I'll be there, in spirit. I'm there. All right, everybody, look after yourselves, and I will be back on Sunday, all things being equal. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here, and bye-bye for now.